Welcome to an episode of You Haven't Read What? I'm Krista.
And I'm Christina. Join us to explore unique genres, childhood favorites, and literary classics as we dive into each other's favorite reads.
Where one of us is very familiar with the book, the other is reading for the very first time. Let's go! So, hi.
Hi.
We have video, right?
I know we do, actually. We have a video.
I just can't see myself like I usually can.
I know, right?
I'm also like dark on dark today, so I didn't realize till I walked out of the house. It's like, this is not a fashion podcast.
Yeah, I mean, no, not really.
Not at all.
I have hair everywhere on this shirt, so.
You don't even have a pet to blame.
I know.
You'd have a kid to blame.
It's my own hair. And
Oh.
it's one of those types of shirts that, like,
Everything
it
sticks.
collects. Yeah, it's crazy.
All right, so before we get going today,
Okay.
we have goodies.
Should we at least say hi and good morning?
Hi. It
Good
is morning.
morning.
Usually
It is.
podcast tonight.
I know,
it's
right?
daytime. That doesn't happen very often.
Right?
So, first of all, my mommy sent me these for us to split up.
Aw.
We have
I love
Harry
your
Potter Christmas
mommy.
ornaments that are just
So
cute.
cute.
So obviously you get Hufflepuff, I get Gryffindor, and we'll figure out the other two.
Okay, sounds good.
But I always like to add to our trees that are currently up at the moment.
Yeah.
I know listening it's January, but hey, it's December 1st here. So
Actually, my little brother's birthday today.
hey, happy
Yes,
birthday.
Happy birthday.
So they're cute. That's my mom sent
That
me.
is super adorable. Thanks, Mommy. Lim. Not Lim.
Not Lem.
Sorry, I know that too.
Mommy worked.
Mommy worked. I knew that too. As I said it, I was like, no.
Like, that's not right.
Wrong.
And then
Oh, our little mini figs.
you have to open it.
Is this one for sure mine?
Yes.
Do you know?
I labeled the back of them.
Oh my god.
Hopefully it didn't totally fall apart. Oh, my name fell out.
No. How adorable.
So when we were at Disney Springs,
Yeah.
there's a Lego store there, and you can make your own figurine.
How cool.
So we
you
made.
haven't read what on the back?
It says you. Yeah, my hair's in the way. but-
Super cute.
So I've got like cargo pants, which I'm wearing at the moment, and a
Which
sweatshirt,
is funny.
which I am also wearing at the moment.
I've got leggings.
And leggings or jeans. I was like, you can take
Right.
that either way.
I love the toolbox, by the way.
Yes, so you got to pick, like they printed obviously the name block. Whoop,
Yeah.
Just pulled my head off. And then they printed, we got to design what was on the body. The kids helped.
That's so
And
cool.
then, which is how we could get the wording on the back and everything. And then you got to pick out of this huge bin.
Yeah.
My youngest just had a great time just pulling things out of. And I was like, dude, you've got to stop.
Right.
This huge bin to choose a pair of legs, a face, hair, and one accessory. So you got a super cute little toolbox, and I got a fun little digital tablet thing.
Oh, for work. Yeah.
I'm a nerd.
Look at
There we
go.
Are they cute?
So cool. I love your shirt too.
It's fun.
And I
yeah.
love the fact that they were able to print on. Ooh, I just took off your head. They were able to print on the backs of the shirts.
Yeah, so you got to, like, you could
That's
put
so
whatever
cool.
text you wanted. You could put, like, there's a funny little disclaimer that was like, you shall not put any expletives, nothing
Right.
political, nothing, like,
Yeah.
vulgar, like,
Makes
da-da-da-da.
sense.
I was like, yeah, okay.
Okay,
like,
cool.
we're fine.
Done.
So, yeah. So we decided to leave the fronts kind of plainer.
Yep.
And then, but yeah, put the podcast name on the back. And now they fit in our little library.
I know.
We have our own little people.
I'm gonna have to move my Halloween cup here. Let me get that out of the way. Okay. So we'll take you out.
Don't take her head
And-
off.
I know, right? Okay, so I'll stand over here. And Krista, you could probably just sit in the
My
chair.
hair just doesn't stay on. I can sit for a minute. Oh, no. How do the arms have to go?
Oh, and then I just took off the...
Yeah, that was,
Okay.
I think
There
that
we
was
go.
me. Oh my gosh, my hair, gotta stop grabbing it by the head.
Loco Disney Springs. Sweet. Look at us go.
Yeah, it was super cute. And when we saw it,
fun.
I was like, that's amazing. And we need to do that. And yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, this is really cute. Christina's been talking about this, so I'm going to do it.
Yes. I was going to go and get them online, but this is even better.
So, like I said, the kids helped and Tim helped.
That's cool.
Put it all together and make sure the text fit on the back and all of that fun stuff. And yeah, we had a good time doing it. If you're in Disney Springs and you want to make a Lego person,
do it.
It's cute. It's fun.
It's
really
super
quick.
fun.
It took us like maybe 20 minutes to do 2.
Okay.
And they took a little video of them printing them to the printer that they use. It's hard to actually see stuff being applied, but the little arm shoots back and forth and does. It can do. We were there the week before Thanksgiving, so obviously, crowds were low, but they can do like 3 or 4 rows of like 10 at a time.
Oh wow!
Like, holy smokes! But
that's crazy.
They were only printing like 4 when we were there. I saw the rows, and I was like, "Good Lord!" Like that would take forever.
Yeah.
So yeah, so we had fun.
Cute.
Wow. We have our little Lego people.
Thank you. This is so much fun.
This is like early Christmas
and
gift.
Mama Wart. Thank you. Okay. There we go.
Here, I'll just do that. I'll move my water
bottle.
There we
go.
Oh, that's not going to stay.
There we go. Okay.
Just don't bump the table. All right.
So, shall we get into it?
We shall.
Okay. So, last week we did 3 chapters.
Yep.
I had to double check when I was going to read these ones because I was like, why are we already on 6? I was so confused.
Yeah. Because, the first episode for book 2.
Yep.
We did chapters 1 and 2. Last week we did 3, 4, and 5.
Yep.
Which were The Burrow, Flourish and Blots, and Whomping Willow.
Yes.
And then this week we did 6 and 7, which is Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah.
And Mudbloods and Murmurs.
Ooh.
Dun, dun, dun. So.
Cool.
Yeah. So a quick summary for chapter 6. Never piss off Molly Weasley.
I know, right? Oh.
And then Mandrake sound fun? ? And Lockhart sounds awful.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I did not like Lockhart. And Mandrake's kind of creeped me out a little. And
wait till the movie.
And that howler. I was like, I wish I could have one of those for when I get super angry with my husband. And an owl just brings it.
Just drops in his lap and screams at him for 5 minutes. Like,
right.
But I was also like, Ron, why didn't you just grab it and run outside? You knew what it was.
Right.
Just
right.
Sprint for the door.
Well, because he didn't want to touch it. Like, he just didn't want to. He was like, no, I don't want to. And I was like, how do you say the owl's name again?
Earl.
Okay, it's spelled different. So I'm like, I don't know how to spell or say this, but poor Earl. I think he needs to retire because
he does.
The poor owl.
Like Hermione poking him like,
he's not dead, I promise. Like, he's okay. He's okay. And the fact that Harry and Hermione have 0 clue what this thing is. Yeah.
And poor Neville is like, oh God.
Just do it.
Just do it. It gets worse. I ignored one once. Also, I'm like, what did Neville do to get a howler?
Well, I mean, he's very forgetful. So
but that's why he gets rememberalls.
That's true.
Not
that's
howlers.
True. But I do think, I kind of want to know what would have happened if Ron had left it. Because it does end up basically exploding.
It ends up being pretty awful either way.
Yeah. So I was kind of like, what actually happens with the howler when, you do ignore it or whatever.
Yeah. How can that get worse?
Yeah. I was like, and breakfast I was not a fan of what they were serving for breakfast.
It was very English.
Capers and porridge see, I like oatmeal, but porridge is not the same. Yeah, it's definitely not the same, and I'm not a fan of it, but whatever.
And also, my first little soapbox today. Arthur in trouble at work. Whose fault is that really?
Right.
That is not Ron and Harry's fault.
No, but I do kind of feel bad because if they hadn't have taken the car,
he would have gotten caught eventually.
Well, you don't know that.
He would have gotten caught eventually.
I mean, Fred and
he
George
had a magical car
take it out all the time.
Yeah, I was about to say with twins like
that are a pain in the butt.
Something like that.
But I mean,
the fact that Molly takes it out on them, I was like, he's the one who wrote little loopholes and broke the law or whatever to have this car and got into trouble. Sorry, Molly. It's not the kid's fault.
I still think at 12, though, I would have probably felt bad, too.
They can feel bad, but it's the note yelled at them. Molly screamed at them.
Yeah.
The howler screamed. Trouble. Yeah, your father's facing an inquiry at the ministry. And I'm like,
yeah,
not relevant. But that's his own doing. Don't put that on the kids.
Right. But we do find out that they go back to try and get the car. Like Molly and...
Yes. Yeah.
Why am I blanking on his name?
Arthur.
Yeah.
I did the same last night.
I was like, why?
In the next chapter, I was trying to write the name. I was staring. I was like, I looked over at my husband sitting on the couch. I was like, Sam, what is Mr. Weasley's first name? And he's like, so he just Google and he asked Google, he was like, Arthur. I was like, oh, thank you.
Right. I just was like,
total blank.
But I think that they go back and look for the car. So at least we have that answer that they weren't stuck in the train thing. But like, I still want to know, how did Harry and Ron not be able to go through? Like,
we'll get there.
Yeah. It's just,
So things you're not allowed to ask yet.
And I totally was like, wow, Gilderoy Lockhart isn't fond of himself at all. That ego and sarcasm.
No. I wrote his pep talk is cringe.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it's so bad.
And not only that, but he, again, just like Snape, cuts Harry off at every little turn. And that kid, the Creevy kid, is driving me bonkers. I probably would have punched somebody by now.
Yeah. So I made this note later on that I don't know why. I mean, Colin has his purpose throughout the series, especially this book.
He's going to be going on?
Yeah.
Okay.
Less so, but yes. But remember in the first book when Harry and Ron were talking on the train? And it was basically like Ron was bringing everyone up to speed with the Wizarding World. Like he was talking to the reader.
Yep.
Now that's Colin. Harry's explaining everything to Colin so that the reader remembers everything.
Right.
I need to confirm this. I have heard rumors that the author was kind of forced to do that by a publisher that said, you need to remind your readers everything. You need to reinforce everything. And it's so unnecessary. These books came out less than 2 years apart.
Right.
People don't forget that quickly.
No.
So.
And not only that, but like for me, so I'm reading a series right now that like the first book came out, I don't know, like 6 years ago. The last book has just come out. Ooh. And I mean, it's a great series. Let me get you there. But like, I was like, they don't do all of these
previously on.
Oh yeah, they don't really do any of that in more books nowadays. I think if there's a really big pause, maybe, but most of the series that I read as an adult don't, like, maybe they sprinkle one thing in, going, oh, my best friend was part of the Irish mob, so she was running away or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like that part of it going, okay, cool. I remember what book I'm reading. And I actually went back and I read the first book 3 years ago, but
to recap,
I only just started reading the second book. So I was like, oh, like I totally remember exactly what happened in the first book as soon as it said, oh yeah, my best friend, but that was the only part that they recaptioned from the previous book.
Didn't do a full reset of everything.
Kind of like this is it's so slow right now because it's just...
There's so much reminding you how everything works.
Yep.
So much of it. And like I said, I have heard that the author was pressured into doing that. That was the right way to do something. And it definitely wasn't. wasn't.
Back then, it probably was.
It may have been, yeah.
But, like, you don't do that when you've got, you know, the Hardy Boys. No. You're not constantly going, oh, yeah, you know, what happened to the parents or whatever in that book series. Yeah. You're not doing that with the Boxcar Children. You're not doing that. Like, so.
Nancy Drew, take your pick.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of one of those, like, did it actually have to be that way? Because I think she could have added more actual, like, stuff that's going on.
Some other content.
Yeah, other type of content of, you know, like, what's going on each day or whatever. Because you kind of, again, time in this one seems a little bit shifted in a way. Like, it's several weeks, but then it feels like it's going day by day again.
Yeah,
so it's just kind of back and forth.
Hurry up and wait.
Right. Right. But yeah, I am not a fan of Lockhart.
Nope.
And I think he's totally fake. That is all I have to say about him right this moment.
Nice.
Because, like, he just has this... like,
that's the best way to put it.
Feeling like he you know, is telling Professor Sprout how to take care of a tree. Like,
he's mansplaining to everybody,
right? Oh, I hadn't thought of it that way, but
that just popped into my head. Yeah,
and it's just kind of like, why? Who cares? Stop. Like, you are not an expert. I'm sorry, but you're not an expert.
No.
And Hermione hits it right on the head, where was it Hermione? Is, like, trying to say, oh, he knows so much and this and that, and Ron goes, but
thinks he says
he did it, you know. And I did write down the line, sounding as usual to Hermione, sounding as usual, as though she had swallowed, or he had swallowed the textbook. Oh no, she had swallowed the textbook. It was about Hermione. Because Hermione, when she's talking, is just like
spewing everything.
But Lockhart is a lot like that too, where he's like, these are my stories and this and that. And Hermione's kind of the same way in a way, but not egocentric. Yeah. I think she's more Miss Know-It-All. Like, she just knows
she
so
does it
much.
more
Sorry, Cenobio, but I still have not quite gotten into Hermione. But, like...
We've been getting texts from our friend about, stop hating on Hermione.
I'm sorry, but, like, I still haven't quite gotten there yet.
But she's sometimes Little Miss Know-It-All in the book way.
Yep.
Lockhart is Little Mr. Know-It-All in, like,
pretend.
Quite the opposite.
Right.
In, like, storytelling land.
Right.
Or like real world, I put in big air quotes here.
People that fluff themselves up like that, it's just kind of like, it's annoying.
Like, go away.
Okay, so I have ADHD. So I struggle with not inserting my own stories into people telling me things. So I tend to, we could be talking about breakfast and I'll be like, oh, I just went to this new place or whatever. And then, like, that's technically me inserting myself into your story. But in a way, it's me relating to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes I wonder if Lockhart's trying to do that. But at the same time, it's so much fluff that it feels like he's just kind of like just inserting himself no matter what. Especially with everything going on with Harry, where, like,
he inserts and takes over.
Definitely.
Like, he's not trying to relate. He's not trying to be part of the story. He is. I'm going to
the story at that point.
Tell you all of this because
right.
It's what I feel like you need to hear.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. And not only that, but inserting himself in every, like, situation of where, like, the whole Creevy trying to get a signed photograph
or
Harry, and then, like, getting detention, having to go and do detention and address all of these, like, envelopes and everything. And Harry's just like, I don't want this. This isn't what I'm trying to do. Like, I just want to be a normal kid.
Yes. And so far, because the first book started off with like a mystery right out the gate. Not only Harry, but, like, you found out that, like, the Gringotts vault was broken into and stuff like that very early, and you start getting in that. Whereas this is like, so far, Harry's having a very normal school year.
Yep,
and like he is really succeeding at being
He's
normal
a celebrity in being a normal kid.
Yes,
because Colin, Creevy, and Lockhart won't allow him to just be the normal kid. He's the celebrity that's at a normal school, kind of a thing.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, like, he is more popular than Lockhart, and Lockhart does not like that.
Of course not.
But I don't know. The way that he just inserts himself and he helps himself to whatever's going on, like, here, let me take a photo with you to kind of take some shine off of you or whatever, when Colin's trying to like that photo, but then twist it and be like, but you don't want that type of fame right now.
Right.
And I'm like, I think you're trying to buddy up to him.
And yeah.
Exactly. I don't know.
So mandrakes.
Yes.
Sounds like trying to wrangle my toddler into ski gear. This is what putting mandrakes in a pot sounds like.
Well, I mean, you just did this on Friday.
I know.
So it's probably fresh in your mind at this point.
A little bit. We also went and hunted a Christmas tree yesterday out in the woods, and he was complaining his hands were cold. I'm like, then put your gloves on.
Right.
No, dude.
Well, then I can't help you.
Yeah, it didn't help. We were, for his size, which, I mean, he's extremely tall, but he was in knee-deep snow. So he was on the struggle bus. Whereas my older kid was like sprinting or frolicking through the snow, falling in tree wells. I'm like, kid. Okay.
Aww.
But anyway, that was my visual when the mandrakes were trying to shove in a pot, and they're grabbing and pulling and throwing the dirt back out, and obviously
pulling
screaming.
On their hair, basically.
Yeah. And I was like, oh.
That's attached.
This is a toddler. Okay.
Well, and not only that, but what was interesting was she says, Professor Sprout says that they are younglings right now. And I was like, what do they look like when they're like fully grown?
Yeah, I don't want to know.
I definitely don't think I want to know.
Creepy.
Well, and not only that, but I did have a question. Like, so why hasn't Voldemort used mandrakes if they are, what did I write? They're to be used for transfigured or cursed to be like reinstated to their original state. So why hasn't Voldemort done something to uncurse himself to his original state?
He hasn't been transfigured to another state. He has been demolished.
Okay, because he's a puff of air at this point.
At this point, he's like
okay.
I'm going to say like a spirit, basically.
Okay.
Like he hasn't been transfigured into something. So like, for example, this is actually my next thing. Why didn't Hermione turn her buttons back into beetles after class? Like she's going around showing off her buttons. And I was like, those are animals. Like, I mean, it's a beetle, it's a bug, but still.
Right.
Shouldn't you put those back? Well, they started as buttons, and McGonagall turned them all into beetles, and then they just turned it back into buttons. But I was like,
maybe.
But there would be an example of Hermione's walking around with the buttons that the mandrake could be used to turn them back into beetles.
Oh, okay.
But there has to be a straight transfiguration happening.
Okay.
Not
so
just
because he is more of a spirit style puff of air, then he can't be put back into his body or a body or something.
His body was killed, not transfigured.
Okay.
Yeah. Probably the best way to
explain it. Okay, that makes sense then, because I was just like, if you can use it to uncurse yourself, then why hasn't he done that?
Yeah, he's not cursed.
He's just evil.
Semi-dead.
Okay, cool.
So here's your random fact nerdism of the day. The other kid that they're talking to, versing with the mandrake, says that his name was on the list for Eton. And he's very glad he came to Hogwarts instead. And I was like, okay, I've heard of Eton.
Yep. It's
obviously we don't live in the UK. So I was like,
boarding school.
What is this? Yes, it is an extremely premier all boys boarding school. They call it college, but remember they go from college to university. Yep. So it's 13 through 18-year-olds. It's only boarding, highly rated. It was founded by Henry VI in 1440. Okay. And it is a public school. Yep. And part of his goal was to give, I mean, think at the time, 1440 here, give him some grace, to give boys the same education he was privy to, regardless of their social standing. Right. So he set up the school, and at the time, 70 students a year were paid for out of his pocket to attend. All of their other expenses were covered.
Actually kind of cool for being like in 1440 at that point. Yeah, for sure.
And it was down to 5-year-olds at that point. It was kids down to 5, and the education was always free. It was all the boarding and the food and all of that
you had to pay for.
Cost a bunch of money.
Yeah.
So he set up basically a personal scholarship. I'm going to use modern terms here. Yep. So that way kids could attend the school and get this premier education that he had been privy to.
Okay.
And of course, everyone else still had to pay for everything. But like he set up a little like, hey, let's get poor kids, you know, that are willing to put in the work.
Right.
And that's like when I was on their website last night, and like passion and hard work is like everything.
Yep.
It's like, if you're not willing to put in the work here and be academically focused, like, you don't come here.
No.
And there have been 20 prime ministers so far that have graduated from there.
That's pretty cool.
And I was like, that's a lot.
That is.
Like, that's a whole lot. So they have earned their premier reputation by the sound
for sure.
of it. So yeah, there's your random.
That's really cool. So I didn't know all of that portion of it, but I did know what Eton was and why it's so, like, I knew that it's one of those prestigious things, like you put it on your resume because like it's a great thing. But I think it's interesting that the boy chose to do Hogwarts and be
like, oh wait,
a full wizard.
You're a wizard instead. You're going to go to this different boarding school.
So he's
like, this is a lot more fun.
Born.
Thanks. Yep.
And he could have gone to Eton instead of Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. So, I mean,
I'll take Hogwarts. Also, not a boy, so
right, for
and
sure.
to do Eton, but
I think that's really neat that he got to choose that decision or whatever.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, that is cool.
That was also a nice little fun, like, real thing name drop. I always kind of enjoy. Like, you're in this wizarding world,
right?
And having this one string every now and then. That's like, oh wait, that's actually a thing,
right?
Is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because it also kind of encapsulates the truth with the make believe.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of it's hard to do in a story sometimes.
It's very hard to do.
So I think it's really cool that she was able to do that with this book series.
And she does some good jobs with, like, stuff like Eton. We mentioned soccer team in the last book, Merlin. Like, these are all things we're familiar with.
Yep, for sure.
All right. We're going to skip Lockhart's quiz because gross.
Like, why?
Gross.
Seriously. I even wrote, I was like, I think he's too good to be actually truthful.
I wrote eye roll in all caps.
Ew.
So we get to move on to chapter 7, right?
I have one more thing. So summer breaks. I have never been a fan of summer breaks. I'm even less of a fan of summer breaks now that I have a child in school.
Fair.
But the fact that, like, Harry even inner monologues, the fact that he feels like he forgot everything and they just all seeped out of his brain is so true.
So relatable.
And I remember
if we have any teachers listening right now, I'm sorry. We do our best with our kids.
Right. We definitely have workbooks that Water, deals with and everything.
Shout out to Costco. Has some great big workbooks.
For sure.
Yeah. We got big one over the summer.
As a kid, I didn't really do that. It was just summer break. And when I went to Australia when I was 16, I found out that they do theirs year round.
Mm-hmm.
School starts in January and you level up to your next one in December. And so, but you have longer breaks throughout the year.
I would put our kids in separate grades.
It would actually. Oh. Well, no, maybe depending on their age requirement as to how old. But yes, it probably would.
But the cutoff would be closer to the start of the school year, which would
be
November, December, and
yeah,
interesting. Sorry, that just hit me. I was like, oh, our kids would be in class together.
I know, right? But I always found it interesting because they're so they have a little bit longer breaks in certain other areas, but they're taking longer 4-day weekends or what people like here want to do where they only work 4 10s in a week and have, Friday off or whatever.
My brain is fried. After 9 hours of work, I couldn't do 1080s.
Yeah. But it was just one of those, okay, that's really interesting. So when we started Water in school, we knew we were moving here. I was like, I know that Colorado has some districts that do full year round. And one of those districts is Douglas County.
Oh.
But it's only select schools. So they have like one elementary school that does it. They have a couple of middle schools and like a couple of high schools, but it's just like
that's not
they
confusing.
were very specific on what portions do it. And I was like, well, that sucks. Like I thought it was the whole district kind of a thing, and it's not. So I always found that summer breaks just were the worst.
Well, and there's so many studies out there that show year-round schooling is better.
Yep, it is a lot better.
And yeah, I've normally heard like you get like a 2-week or 3-week holiday break, a 2-week spring break, a 2 or 3 week summer break, and like a 2-week fall break.
It's easier for parents to be able to like handle.
It's much easier
instead of having 2 full months off during the summer plus a bunch of random breaks throughout the year too.
Also, again, referencing another series here, I would live in Narnia if I could and have snow year round. Vacationing in the summer is miserable to me. I don't want to go anywhere hot.
Yeah.
Take me to Alaska in July and I'm sold.
Right.
Like, but we moved from the Midwest for a reason.
I know, right?
I was so miserable in the summer.
Well,
and everyone's like, vacation is up. We're going to Florida. I'm like, why?
Like,
gross.
Yeah.
I'll go to Florida in November.
So I have to say, I am, a Southern girl, but like, I definitely don't like the heat like that. And I don't like the bugs that come out with them. And it's just not my biggest fan. But
I like that my biggest pest here is a housefly.
Right.
Not mosquitoes and yellow jackets.
Yeah. Well, we do get a lot of wasps here.
Nothing compared to what we had in Missouri.
Oh, okay.
I had to have.
Well, that's true. We had
in the
a
kids'
lot
little
more
playhouse. I had to have a wasp catcher in there because they built nest every like 2 weeks. I'd be killing a new nest out of there, and they built nest in our fence post.
Oh,
so we had to like my kids don't play too close to the fence post.
Right,
like, that's not a problem here.
Well,
it's not that bad.
Boxwoods. Wasps like to live in boxwoods,
Fair.
And we had in Tennessee. We had our entire front porch had boxwoods.
Ooh.
So every single one of them had multiple nests in it.
Covered.
And here we rent and we have a boxwood right next to my truck.
It must be easier to take care of.
My niece and I one night we're going out, like we went outside and I sprayed this bush with wasp spray. She's like trying to part the leaves a little bit so I could spray inside, and like I covered the entire thing with an entire can. Nice. And she's just like, do you think that's going to kill the plant? I was like, I don't care. I don't like them.
It can go away.
Yeah, exactly. My landlord might have a problem with that, but yeah, it was funny. Fair. Yeah. But anyways,
I'm all for year-round school.
Yes, I would be too. And like I said, it's a lot easier on parents. There's like so many benefits to it. And if I was a homeschool parent, I was a homeschooled kid, but if I was a homeschool parent, I would probably do it that way.
Yeah.
But I am not a homeschool parent. I never will be. My brain just can't handle it with my daughter. But Fair. Yeah, so I wish we could do year-round
something
schooling,
like that.
Yeah. Would be cool.
Here we are.
Anyways, chapter 7.
Oh,
yeah.
Mud, Bloods, and Murmurs. So, quick summary. Quidditch is back. Ish. Ron's heroism backfires, and then strange noises in detention. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah.
We get a plot in chapter 7. Not a mistake.
You get a what?
We get the start of the book's plot.
Oh, yes.
Comes
towards
in chapter
the
7.
End of the chapter. And I get that.
In
but
7 is not a mistake.
Yes. That makes sense because of the number 7 throughout the books and series. Yes. But I think Ron needs a new wand.
You think?
Because burping up slugs sounds disgusting. Awful. Like every time I read the description, I was just like, gross. But I love that Ron immediately tries to defend Hermione, and that Wood tries to go after them as well.
And the twins.
Yes, and the twins. However, Harry and Hermione are like, what the heck's going on?
What did you just say?
Now?
I don't understand.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I like that also that Hagrid's the one who explains it.
I do too, yes.
Puts such a, I don't know, such a kind of a kind, gentle, homey twist on what's basically a racial slur.
Right. And it's basically like, here, let me make you feel comfortable and at peace. And then let me tell you what happened. And explain
why also this is a bunch of shenanigans.
Yeah. Yeah. I was not a big fan of, like, I understand the implications of the word and everything. I'm just not a big fan of, like, I don't know, maybe it's just because of the year we're living in and like rereading these books, but there's certain things throughout the book that I'm just not a big fan of. Like, why put that in a book? You know what I mean? Like, why do certain, like, the gender things and all of that kind of stuff and whatever, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But
it's just putting a further wedge in between, like, the, again, air quotes, pure blood Malfoy families and the incomings like Hermione, or the halves like, oh shoot,
is there a half?
Who is it? Yes.
Is it Seamus or one of those ones?
Yeah, it's one of the side characters. In the first, I can mainly picture him saying it in the first movie that he says, my mom's a witch, my dad's a muggle. Bit of some nasty shock when he found out.
Right.
Like, which is hysterical. What sort of secrets did you keep in your marriage? Well, you see.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
The stick of wood does things.
I mean, I want something that will clean for me and do my dishes and fold my laundry.
So if you're married to somebody who all of a sudden said, so there's this thing you need to know.
Right.
I can do all of that by magic. I'm like, cool, don't care.
Right. Let's do it. Teach me how.
But yeah, it just drives that wedge, and that, like, obviously Malfoy's repeating things that he has heard at home.
Right. Yeah.
Which is not kids repeat things.
Yeah.
For better or worse. And so, like, clearly he's hearing this extremely, like I said, I'm going to relate it mostly to racism here. That's the easiest,
It is
the easiest way. Of, like, if I heard somebody say, obviously a word I am never going to actually say.
Right.
But if I heard somebody call somebody a minority, a terrible word, like, I'm fired up too.
Right.
Like, you do not do that.
Right.
And so, it's kind of the same of, like, there's a reason this is the first time we've heard it, and it's not just being thrown around.
Right.
Of, like, this is a terrible thing to say.
Yep.
And again, can't blame the kid. He's repeating what he's hearing at home.
I mean, you can kind of blame him because at 12, I'm sorry,
he knows
but you
better.
know better.
He knows better, 100%.
Yep. So
100%.
He knows better. You can blame him. Yes, he might be hearing it at home. However, he knows better. And he's obviously never heard the word no or any of that kind of stuff. But, like, there is a line and you don't cross it, especially with people that you go to school with. I mean, you live with these people, essentially. Right. Like,
you just...
Come on. But I do write that Colin Creevey and Lockhart are becoming pains in the butts. Like, why? Why?
I love that when Colin shows Harry the picture that he is trying to get away from Lockhart in the picture.
I saw that.
I was like, 1, that's amazing and funny. 2, questions. Mm-hmm. So do the magical pictures get the memory of the people in the picture? Like, it was one of those I was like, okay, I know more. Like, I know how some of this works.
Yeah.
And what pictures know and not. But still, at this point, I was like, 1, that's funny. And 2... wait a minute. Why does Picture Harry know that he doesn't like Lockhart?
Right.
Does
and
Lockhart
you don't actually
Harry
see a picture of Harry?
Does Picture Lockhart never stop talking?
Probably not. Or do they actually talk in the pictures? I thought they just moved.
They can talk too.
Okay. And also, what is going on with Wood? Like... He goes insane.
He's crazy. Yeah.
Like, I understand they lost the last match. I get why he's a little bit
It's not
crazy.
Harry and Wood's fault that their sport at this level doesn't have subs.
Right.
Come on.
Yeah, exactly.
You got a backup?
But like
Weasley twins are bound to break something.
Like before sunrise, and you know that like Harry, like everybody needs sleep. Person, come on, dude. Like, why wake up so early and then spiel everything for hours? Like nobody's gonna stay awake.
Like how they all fell asleep in different positions. Like
right.
one leaning on the wall, one on the another person's shoulder.
One of the twins was in on Alicia's shoulder.
Yeah, and she was asleep on like the locker or something.
Yeah.
And like, it's just doing this.
Like, does he not notice that they're falling asleep?
I mean, yeah, maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't know,
like,
but
cool.
But then when they bring out Malfoy,
okay,
why the shenanigans with him behind everybody? Is it because they know Harry has a problem with them? Like, what's up with this big long line of people?
Yeah,
and then
we got to do this reveal.
Boom. Like, why?
Yeah.
He's not that special, dude.
But
he did pay for his way on.
Soapbox number 2. Can't blame him for this. Mm-hmm. So again, I had another podcast point this out, and the more I thought about it, I was like, oh my God, because yes. So put yourself, not as a terrible person, but as a parent,
right,
in Lucius and you'll find, Mrs. Malfoy.
Yeah.
Shoes.
I know her name, yeah.
Yeah, Narcissa. And so put themselves Put yourself in their shoes.
Right.
Your kid came home from school that you don't have a lot of details about what happens there.
Right.
And tells you at the end of the first book that your house rightfully won all of these points, and the headmaster himself
totally
stood up in front of the school and just slapped your kid in the face.
Yep. And we did talk about that at the end of the last book.
So we know one of the ways you can get house points is by winning Quidditch.
Right.
If you have a nice pocketbook,
may as well use it.
Darn right, I am going to use it and do whatever I can to give my kid whatever seemably unfair advantage I can.
Yeah. Because
clearly the headmaster and the rest of school are not looking out for him.
No, for sure. And I totally agree with with that, as far as what we talked about with the last book and everything. Like, it was definitely unfair.
Yeah.
It should never have happened that way. Honestly, Gryffindor should not have won at all last year. They should have lost.
Yeah.
And I completely agree with that. I understand why they didn't.
Right. It's the fairy tale. You got to have the hero win. Like, right. Blah, blah, blah. But now we're seeing the payback for it. Now we're seeing the parental units get involved.
But as a kid, I can also see the way of Malfoy doing this out of spite and evil and all of that kind of stuff, because that's his role in this series, is to be the evil, to be the arch nemesis, to drag that on. So I can kind of see both sides. Like, as a parent, like, totally throw all that money at it, like, because
I'm gonna give my kid whatever unfair advantage I can, because why not?
Right. But as a kid, I can see, like, if I had read it then, I would have been like, why is he being so evil? Like, come on. Like, he totally paid for his way on to the team.
Yes.
Totally see that. But, like, there is that fine line where you go, okay, should I be stepping in and doing something? Should I not? Whatever. But, yeah, I definitely agree. Like, I think he paid for his way on,
to see,
but at the same time,
the effects of how last term ended.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I still am not a huge fan of Malfoy.
Oh, you're not supposed to be.
But
don't get me wrong. It was several episodes ago. I called him an asshole, and he still is.
That is true. Yes,
that holds.
But like, at the same time, like, I totally get why he wants to. But did they replace a Seeker that was a year 7, or did they get rid of somebody in order for Malfoy to get on to the team?
I don't think it's explicitly said. I always assumed he replaced somebody who was graduating.
Yeah, and I don't remember from the last book, what year they would have been. But yeah, I think it was just kind of like, but I still don't understand the whole like shenanigans of, hey, let's part the waters. Ooh, Reveal.
Yeah. It's all for dramatic effect.
Right. And then we talk about the slugs again because it's hilarious. And the fact that that Ron's wand keeps
backfiring like this
and backfiring and sending green lights and stuff. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I just think it's funny. But I do think he needs a new wand. I wonder when he's going to get a new wand because Mr. and Mrs. Weasley can't afford it though.
No,
so
not with every kid in school now.
I know. Well, no, the older two are off on their own. Okay. They have 4 kids
but no
in
more
school.
at home. You had to buy one more set of books.
Yeah.
Expensive books.
Yeah.
Compared to last year.
All about Lockhart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Firewood.
Yeah. The fact that Hagrid talks about Lockhart being the only one to apply for the dark arts class, I was like, what about Snape?
I was like, did Snape not apply?
Snape had to have not applied.
Is he saying that he wants the position but not really wanting it? Like, is that a
like, is he not actually super evil?
Is that a tell? Like, yeah. Yeah, that was a little bit interesting.
Yeah, I feel like I'm reading into everything now. Like, but Lockhart hopefully doesn't end up staying in this class for very long. So like,
don't worry, you're safe from him in book 3.
Oh, thank goodness. But like, hopefully, like, so who becomes the dark arts person? Like, they've obviously been going through whoever is in that position. So maybe Snape sees that and is like,
no thanks.
Peace, I'm out.
Maybe I originally wanted it, but no.
Right? I'm like,
slowly backs away from my...
Well, and I honestly don't think that Snape is as evil as he's portrayed to be, even if he's a Slytherin.
Oh, yeah.
Because just some of the ways that he interacts with Harry, like obviously he's trying to get the kid expelled, but like just the way that he interacts and the way that they go through everything, like there are certain characteristics of Snape that just kind of don't totally mesh with the dark, like evil stuff that Voldemort and Malfoy are part of. So.
Yeah, and that's something you'll see as we continue to meet characters. Like I said, in the first book, the houses are not well defined. In this book, they're honestly not defined anymore. Right. But as we keep going, there's a great little, I don't know, picture, I'm going to say, that goes around the interwebs every now and then.
Okay.
That's not all Gryffindors are brave, and it shows a particular character we haven't met yet.
Okay.
Not all Ravenclaws are smart, and it shows another character. Not all Hufflepuffs are lazy, and it has, and not all Slytherins are bad. Right. And it's like you have the characters that break all of the molds.
Right.
So, yeah, it's like you kind of in this first book get this setup of like, oh, they're in Gryffindor. I don't need to worry about them.
Right.
And at some point, or in Slytherin, okay, we got to keep an eye on them. And at some point, each one of them slowly gets shattered.
Right.
Which is nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to have this like, you had this little like mound build up around you, and then all of a sudden it starts crumbling down. It's like, oh, I got to second think things.
Well,
which is nice.
I've seen that kind of thing for like when it comes to your kids too. Like, like you definitely need to check in on that oldest child because, they hold it together a lot, but that's just because that's been their role or whatever. Like you have to check in on them. And not always the last kid is,
crazy one.
The crazy one. Like
so far accurate.
Mine is the oldest. I mean, mine's an only, but mine's also super crazy, but she also holds it together really well when she has to. And so it's just like that kind of like, okay, cool. I understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
They break the mold. So
yeah, it's fun to see it break. Okay. And I mean, we talk about the Weasley twins and say, oh yeah, twins. Like obviously there are twins that are not bouncing off the walls threatening to blow up toilet seats.
Right. Like, or send their sister toilet seats.
So yeah, it's fun to see it broken every now and then.
Yep. For sure.
Speaking of which, Ginny was just wandering the grounds and ran into Hagrid's hut.
Like,
which What you doing, girlfriend?
Well, not just that, but I mean, Hagrid kind of points out that she was probably trying to find a certain someone.
Something else, yeah.
Trying to find Harry just to kind of see him or whatever. Though I do find it funny when Ron makes the joke of Colin Creevy and Ginny becoming...
Starting an iHeart Harry Potter.
Yep, fan club. Harry Potter fan club.
Don't you dare say that outside.
Don't say it around Lockhart because something will happen. Like, seriously. But then what I don't understand about detention, because moving in, like, they leave, they go have lunch, but as they're coming inside, they get told that they have detention. And, like, why is detention always super late at night?
Right.
So far, we've had 2 detentions.
Both been at night.
And they've both been at night. So I don't understand that.
That's just a thing.
And 8 o'clock at night even. And then to spend 4 hours addressing like envelopes and 4.5 hours polishing.
Well, partially his own fault.
Yeah.
Pukes all over it and has to start all over.
The slugs. Ugh. Gross. Gross. But yeah, I just am like, okay, why so late? Why so long? They still have class the next... Oh, and speaking of that, they have class on Saturdays. Because the very end of that chapter talks about it being a Saturday.
Yeah. They didn't have class that day. They just had Quidditch practice and then went to Hagrid's.
I thought that day they had... Oh, I'm thinking of the day before.
The day before was
Professor Sprout. Okay, yeah. Okay. That makes more sense. I was like, they have class on Saturdays? No. Really?
They had.
Okay, makes more sense. But like...
They had Quidditch.
Just why so late?
Yeah.
They still have school or even a day the next day that they've got to deal with. And they're only 12. So yeah, I just wasn't quite sure about that. And then addressing envelopes. I mean, it's not horrible. It's not a horrible detention. Because you can...
I mean, at least you get to sit.
Right. And you're just like in your own little world. You can be in your own little world or whatever. Yep. But like...
This is when you put on a podcast.
Exactly. But like...
I guess he had the Gilderoy Lockhart podcast going in the background the whole time.
Right.
That sounds awful.
Yep. But then the voice, and then Lockhart being like, I don't hear anything. Like, is he working with Voldemort again? Like, is he Quirrell all over again? Like, what? And not only that, but Ron and Harry talk about it when they're getting ready for bed. And they talk about even a person that was invisible would have had to open the door. Mm-hmm. So...
Nobody could have just snuck into the room and started talking without.
Right. So somebody had to have been in there the whole time. Or Lockhart has a million photos on his walls. They all have him in them. So maybe there's...
One of them started whispering.
Yes.
I like that theory.
So if they talk, which we don't fully know if the... Oh, we do.
They do.
You did tell me.
They do.
So...
Because the fat lady talks to them.
Oh, yes, the portrait.
Password.
Yes, that one. So they talk. So one of the photos might actually have somebody in it that's trying to, whisper weird things. Like, those words were super weird and creepy. And it wasn't even creepy as in, like, dangerous or anything.
No.
But the context of those words... Mm-hmm. In other forms is what creeped me out.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Yeah. I'm just like, okay.
Yeah. Let me rip you. Let me tear you. Let me kill you.
Yeah. And see, in other forms like that, like, I don't think no. It's just, yeah. But anyways.
Yeah. So next time. Oh, I got it. Chapters are split between the page. All right. So next time we're going to do chapters 8 and 9. Mm-hmm. Ooh. Which chapter 8 is the Death Day Party.
Oh.
That was fun.
Like Halloween?
Kind of. Think opposite of a birthday.
Oh, okay.
We have ghosts.
That's true.
We just haven't seen our ghost yet. This book, really.
This book.
Where's Peeves?
Right?
He's slacking. oh no, my kid's not going to like this book as much because Peeves isn't in it yet. Crud. And then chapter 9, The Writing on the Wall. Which is where things really get moving.
And creepy at the same time.
Yeah, well.
Because I imagine writings on the wall is like dripping in blood. Like that's usually how they describe things like that. So
that is usually how it goes. Yes.
I guess we'll find out though.
We'll find out next week.
Woohoo!
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us for this episode. If you had fun, please follow, download, and review this podcast on your preferred listening platform.
If you're ready for the next chapter, join the spoiler-free conversation on our Facebook group. Search You Haven't Read What? The podcast.
Or on Instagram and YouTube for exclusive videos and behind-the-scenes content. Have a great week.
And we'll catch you on the next page.